Hey everybody, I'm here with Craig MacQueen. I'm Don Freeman from Unify Financial Mortgage, right here at Chilliwack in the Fraser Valley. Craig MacQueen, he's our local contractor and a friend of ours, so we wanted to talk to him about contracting and kind of just give you guys a scope on mortgages, renos, those kinds of things. And while we're doing that, we wanted to actually bring in Land Coffee. So we always try to introduce a local business, something that we enjoy. And actually, it was Craig's idea to bring in Land Coffee. So, Craig, tell us a little bit about Land Coffee.
Yeah, Land Coffee is a local company here in Sardis, and they have a cafe down by Eddie on the bridge there, kind of by Sidekick Brewing, by the brand new Better Bridge. Buddy Mike is the owner, and man, he makes a good cup of coffee, and I go there quite often and enjoy it. So, I figured why not? Let's have some chat it out, have a coffee, right?
Absolutely, yeah, sure. Cool. So, the first coffee that we're going to try is the Maple Cinnamon. So that's right here. And that tastes amazing.
Tastes like Canada in a cup.
Canada in a cup.
Canada in a cup. That not bad.
Yep,
yeah.
That's Canada in a cup.
Yeah.
So very cool. So that's awesome. So, Craig, we'll just jump into the questions. As somebody that's looking for a contractor, what should somebody look for in a contractor? Like, what are some tell signs that they're dealing with somebody that knows what they're doing versus maybe somebody that might not? Like, what would you suggest that people look for in a contractor?
I think right away if you just talk to somebody, people are pretty smart. Like you can tell if somebody knows what they're doing, and you get a feel for the person, and you can always check their past projects is a good one, or the internet's a big thing now, so you can go on Google reviews or Facebook, or kind of put it out there in the community, and their willingness to work with you and be translucent and kind of go above and beyond, probably would say. And somebody that's not that presents well, that looks like they have a proper business, they have insurance, they have WCB, they have proper safety practices and all that type of stuff. So I'd say those are probably some good earmarks, some good benchmarks to choose your contractor, right? And then you can ask in the community, ask your buddy, hey, did you work with this guy? How'd it go?
So we actually had Craig come and do our backyard, and it was a pretty extensive reno, actually. It's amazing. We enjoy it. And we weren't even there. So Craig did our backyard. Alicia and I, and mainly Alicia, of course, picked a lot of the colors and the things that were going into it. We had an architect design what it is we wanted, came up with some amazing concepts, and then we just kind of said, okay, Craig, here you go. And we went to another house we own, and we would get video calls. And Craig would be like, hey, check this out. This is what we're doing now. Or, hey, guys, you might want to try this or try that. I will say, like, a lot of the people that came in, it was pretty cool, actually, because, like, the concrete guy, for instance.
Yeah.
He came in, and we had this concept that we're just going to do this whole wood stamped concrete thing throughout the whole thing. There's quite a lot of concrete. Under the hot tub, like where we've got a little natural gas fireplace with a couple chairs on the outside, and then on the inside, underneath this big gazebo, we're just going to be like, yeah, do it all stamped wood kind of thing. And he came in and he's like, we're talking on the phone or whatever, and he was like, he had years of experience. I can't remember.
Yeah, Stevie. Yeah.
Stevie, yes, that's right. So he had years of experience, and he came in and he's like, I don't know if you want to do that.
It's like a sea of wooden concrete.
He's like, you're going to lose the effect. And so he had some suggestions, and I'm really happy he did. So it was really cool. We do mortgages for a living.
Yeah.
So we don't do this side. So it was really cool to have him go, oh, hey, you might not want to do this, but maybe you might want to do this.
Yeah, kind of like pointing in the right direction, right?
Yeah. And we actually ended up just kind of saying, so the one side will do wood, and the other side, make it awesome.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And I was so happy he said something. So the guys that you're working with, these are a lot of guys that have years. That's what we saw. These guys that had years of experience and everything, and they were able to have their input into your projects too.
They're pros, right? So, and we use the same guys for every job, and we have a really tight-knit crew, and, we all work together all the time, and, kind of where everyone excels and where everyone kind of shines, and everyone kind of has a voice, right? So if the concrete guy, he's not just a concrete guy, he's got a bit of experience behind him, and sometimes it's good to listen to the concrete guy.
Oh, it was awesome. I'm so glad we did because what he said was just that. It said you're going to wash out the wood and lose the effect.
Totally. Yeah.
We literally have people come out to our back deck. They walk on our back deck and they look down and they're like, this is concrete? So yeah, very cool effect, and that's exactly what we're going for.
Different zones.
Yeah, and it would have been way too much to do it all over. So it was awesome, and that was just one thing out of quite a few that brought it all together with people's opinions and all that. So it was pretty cool.
Well, it's super neat to be able to do that. And you guys are away, and you just say, here's a video chat, once or twice a week, right? And kind of walk through it, or maybe it was 3 times a week, depending on kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
It was easy to kind of, you took our advice on a lot of stuff, which was nice. We could have some input, and in the end, super awesome product that we're all proud to build, right? So
you do demos and you do things like that.
Yeah.
Have you ever come across something like that's blown your mind as far as you've taken a place down and you're like, what is this? Like, what is the craziest thing you've run across doing like a demo?
Yeah, we just actually on the same property we're on right now. We're just in McGuire Road here, and we're doing a full gut renovation just down the road. And it was an old house that had different renovations on it and had been stacked on top of each other. And it was, there's some different stuff happening there, and we were demoing everything out and reframing all the stuff and putting structural stuff in. And we found actually like a full snake.
Really?
Like a snake, yeah. And it wasn't like a python. It was like definitely tropical. One of those like we didn't know exactly what it was, but it was pretty spooky. Yeah. Right?
So just the body of this snake.
Like a snake. It got into the rafters and then it died in the wall. And when we're taking it apart, we found it. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I say that was probably the most shocking thing. It was like, wow. Yeah. Okay. What's
insane.
this? Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you go under a house and there's no foundation or whatever. Or there's a bunch of rotten wood that happens too. But wow.
Hard to top a snake.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest project you'd say you've done in the time that you've had your own business?
Yeah, we've done ones that have kind of gone into like the mid million range, right? 1.2, 1.3, right? Some house builds and stuff like that. Done some large commercial renovations. Cultus Lake was a good one for us. We did the club house there. We're still there today doing some stuff at Top Tracer Lounge, and we do some new house. We did a new house build in Swally First Nations, and we're doing a 20-unit recovery center on Shem First Nations, and so we do like some stuff like that, a little bit of multifamily and new house builds. So that's kind of we're on the 1 million, 1.5 to kind of our highest.
You're talking when you say 1 million, 1.5. That's a whole thing. Then that's not just a reno. That's like you're building a place.
Brand new build. Yeah, for sure. So we do renovations, we do new builds, we do commercial stuff, we kind of anything, right? We'll put a fence post in. Kind of like the boys will say it, like I say it all the time. It's like we'll put a fence post in, or we'll build you a new custom home, kind of whatever it takes, right? So anything to do with house, we kind of take care of, for sure.
Cool. So now, actually, we should just jump into the next thing here. So we've got the coconut caramel. Coconut. So we'll see what this one. Yeah. Cheers, by the way.
Cheers, lad. Pretty coconutty,
yeah. That is really good.
A little tropical flavor.
Yeah. And it's not. I don't find it super sweet either.
It's like a bounty drink. It's good.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
Yeah.
What would you say is a common problem you run into with clients?
Yeah, it's just communication, right? Like just making sure that everyone knows is on the same page, change orders, budget, expectations, timeline, those are some of the things that we can, that have been points of interest in the past. And, but,
you've got I guess I would say, is it like miscommunication as far as all that goes? Is it them not understanding what something's going to cost?
Yeah, sometimes it's like for you're going to give someone a bid on something, and they have kind of a budget in mind, and you give them a way bigger number or a way smaller number, but usually it's bigger. Like they don't really realize the ramifications of hey, putting a deck,
making some changes.
Right, a deck could be 150, it could be 50 grand, or it could be 100 grand, right? So it's shocking to some people, and now
that's based on a lot of times too. Like I would imagine, like when somebody comes to you and they say, "I want to quote, I'm going to build this deck."
Yeah.
And I want to quote on this deck.
Sure.
What is the process out of? Do they go out? Do they give you a budget and say, "Hey, I want to spend. This is what I want to spend on it," and then you try to meet that kind of thing, or how does that work, I guess? What's
Yeah,
the
so
process?
we get, customer intake comes in a couple different ways for us. We have a website with a form on it you can fill out, submit to us.
Yeah.
That goes to us, or you could phone us, or we can email us, or, just in person, right? So, or you could phone the office, or you could phone me. So there's a couple different ways that client intake is kind of processed, and usually it just comes with we have a sheet of questions, right? So that the client intake form on the website would have the questions in the intake form, but where are you located? What's the scope of your work? What's what year was your house built? Kind of, are you in a hilly area? The stuff like that. Or what are your finishes? What's your ideal budget? Stuff like that. So we'll kind of get the information kind of going there, and then I can ask them, hey, what is your ideal budget? And hey, I want to build a 200-foot deck, or hey, I want to put a 2,000 square foot addition on, but my budget's 50 grand. It's like, well, we're gonna I can help them and guide them and be like, well, it's $250 a square foot or $300 a square foot, depending on your finishes, and so that's kind of where you're looking.
It's not like the home network shows where, like, I always get a kick out of those because you got this home network show and it has, okay guys, don't even worry, you can leave your place and we're going to do everything for you. And so they take somebody's house, they walk away, they come into the house, they do this whole redesign, and they're picking the tile and the flooring and the counters and the countertops, everything, right?
Yeah.
Pick it all. And then the people, every single time, the people walk in and they're like, oh, this is awesome. And you're just waiting for that one show to go, oh, this sucks.
But you never
get that. Anyways, it just made me think about that. But on those ones where I'm talking to, like, when you're doing demos and you're doing things like that, you could run into to problems that will interfere with the price. Like
absolutely. So renovations, I can give a budget. We do lots of firm price work where, hey, this is the price, this is what we're going to do it for. They're a bit more of a hemmed up scope or a closed scope, so it's not as complicated, or it's very straightforward, or it's
you can be confident.
There's a lot of controls.
There's a lot of controls. You know what you're doing
in the price, right? Yeah. But like we do, like a large commercial job we did just recently. We snapped into it. We had it's a fully engineered job and permitted, and all the stuff, and the foundation was not there. So we had to, hey, we're going to start building this 3-story or 2-story building, and we're going to put it on the existing foundation. Well, once we get into it and we start digging, we realize that it's not there. So that's something that could happen. So that did happen to us,
and that's a cost. And of
it's
course,
$100,000.
Yeah, there's no longer a price built in. That's now we've got to do this whole separate thing
for sure. Yeah, so that happens, and you kind of have to. What I would do in that situation, you kind of stop. You take a bit of a breather, have a look. You kind of make a plan, kind of what it's going to move forward. Then you have to talk to your customer or empower your customer with knowledge.
That's not a surprise thing, obviously. That's something that you sit down and you're like, hey guys, here's the cost, here's what we have to do. We can't get past this point.
That happens too. Like we've broken open walls and the whole house is rotten down and the joists are all done, or we've took flooring off and there's joists have structurally failed, or you go up into the attic and it's all moldy or rotten. That happens quite often in our line of work, and that's why there is some unknowns when you open up a house. You can't see behind the wall. Yeah. So there is that happening. But so I would say that's probably one of the challenges that we face is number one would be, hey, we've opened up a wall, here's a bit of allowance here, but now we have to have a talk or have a change order, or kind of where do you want to go from here? Here's the appropriate cost or approximate cost.
Well, I know when we're doing mortgages for renos, which we do all the time.
Totally.
So we're doing a mortgage for a reno, and every time a client will say, hey, I'm just looking to, I've gotten some rough quotes. I just need 50 grand. That's all I need.
Yeah, come back for 100.
I always do an approval for much higher. And it doesn't mean we got to pull the trigger on it. But what happens is I'm like, well, make sure those are shored up. Make sure you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a mortgage for a higher amount. So when I say go for a higher amount, I want to make sure there's a lot of cushion in there.
Totally.
I swear probably 9 times out of 10, there's an unexpected, or not even just unexpected, here's standard cabinets, here's standard this or standard that in your reno, and all of a sudden somebody looks and goes, oh, you know what? But we could do that little bit extra. Well, the little bit extra can cost 10 grand,
Totally.
or 20 grand, or whatever it might cost. Right?
Yeah.
So I always round those numbers out, make sure they're comfortable with their payments, and then anybody we put a mortgage with, any mortgage we do has got options. So they can always, if they have money left over, they can always put it towards it.
Yeah.
People oftentimes go, hey, we'll just get a line of credit.
Yeah.
And we're going to use that to go towards and that's not a bad idea.
It's flexible.
The problem with that idea is you sit in it.
Yeah.
You sit in it for however, like you'll go and you'll do your $50,000, $75,000 reno, and you got a $150,000 line of credit or whatever it might be. And then you're sitting there with that balance. And a lot of people, they've got regular jobs, doing regular things.
Yeah.
It's an interest-only payment. And right now, I mean, that right at best, you know, if you get a mortgage at prime right now, that's like 7.2%,
yeah.
or a line of credit, which we do have. You know, you go 0.25%, you're 7.45%.
Yeah.
And that's the interest you're paying. It's interest-only payment, but that's what you're paying on it.
Totally.
And they just sit in it.
Yeah.
And they don't. So I always say to people, if we're going to do it, figure out what you want fixed. We can always do a line of credit over and above. I shouldn't say always, but circumstance permitting.
Yeah.
So we can do that. But, you know, budget high, and you can always put the extra money towards your.
I try to tell my clients that if you have 100 grand,
yeah,
plan to spend 80, right? Keep 15 or 20 points kind of in your pocket.
So in other words, though, if you look at that the other way, make your project, quote in at 80, give or take.
Yeah.
But have your 100 available in case you need it.
Well,
because again,
yeah.
So often it's like, oh, the lighting. Oh my God, like, yeah, this looks cool and everything, but oh, we could do that?
Totally.
And we were guilty of that, actually.
Well, it's like all of a sudden you're adding smart switches and you're adding LED stuff and you're adding zones and you're adding, you know what I mean? You're adding kind of like, you know, features or like a chandelier or, hey, actually, like it happened at your house. Like we added 25% more concrete by the time we were done almost, right? So it's like, okay, the concrete was per square foot.
We were going to do this gravel thing. Like we had this little gravel, and I was so happy. Alicia and I were...
And like in the original estimate, I had it per square foot, how many square feet we had, and then by the end of it, we were 30% more.
Yes. So because we were sitting there, we thought, well, we're going to do this little gravel area, and you'll have a little gravel sitting area with a natural gas fireplace in the middle of it, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We were all talking about it, and we were like, you know what? This should all just be concrete.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, why? Yeah.
Because you have so many different zones, right?
Yeah, it's usable, it's easy, and again, we're sitting in the hot tub the other day looking at it, and we're like, oh my God, I'm so happy we did it that way. So, but again, those things change. Your mind changes.
Or, let's go over here, add over here, and then this kind of human nature. Like
it starts coming together, and you're
even
like,
as me,
wow.
like when I do a renovation on my own house, it starts with just do this.
Yeah.
And it's go, okay, now we're doing this. And then, you know, order of operations, you do this, and all of a sudden the whole house is ripped apart, right? And then it's like, well, we started doing this, but that's just how it goes, right? People get excited, they want to do more. So I always say, leave 15% in the bag for I want this, or oops. Or it's like, oh, hey, we found some rot. Or, you know, like in your property, when we dug down to find hard pan, there was a piece.
So what's hard pan?
Hard pan's like your undisturbed clay layer.
Yeah.
That's like compacted, it's not been undisturbed soil, that's where you'd like to place your foundation.
Yeah.
We had a peat layer, right? So instead of us digging down 24 inches or 18 inches, we dug down almost 3 feet.
Yeah.
And then we had to load you back up with gravel and have an engineered structural pad.
Yeah. So
unless we went and dug a test hole, how do we know where the peat layer is?
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, okay, we can, so all of a sudden,
those things that
our gravel cost, when I allowed 3 loads, it was 4 or 5, right?
Yeah.
So it just kind of, those things happen, right? So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, let's take a quick second here and go to the iced lavender bees matcha.
Lavender. It's my fave.
And it was, before we got started, we actually had some like whipped cream on there and everything, so it's been a little bit. But
yeah. Good.
Cheers, buddy.
Ooh, lavender. It's pretty good.
I love matcha. I am a fan of matcha.
This is the first time for me.
Really?
There's not a lot of first time black.
Really?
It's the first time, yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, I'm a huge fan of matcha. And a lot of good health benefits from matcha, actually.
I'm feeling good already. Totally.
Cool. Yeah, that is delicious. So,
I guess us both together too. We just with our businesses, like I've worked for you, and we've done some mortgage stuff together, and you've helped us out with a lot of the questions and concerns. But it's nice too. Like you represent some of my clients, and we work together. You help them with the financing. You and I are kind of aligned that way. Hey, this is where we have to hit this certain date for this certain draw. Like we make sure like we're communicating. Hey, Don.
That I will say that is a beautiful thing about. When we have a team like we do, it's one of those things where we can coordinate as opposed to. And actually, I was going to do one of my questions too. Is we can coordinate. So if I see somebody's approved, the way Alicia and I do things. It's approved. Yeah. We've done the work.
It's game time.
It's game time. And so we know well in advance how it's going to work, when the funding's coming, how it's going, everything else. So you can get started on a project right off the bat knowing that we've got you. You know what I mean?
And, and like we have done it in the past where it's like, hey, Craig, like, we want to get going. The homeowners obviously they're excited. They want to see us on site. And usually we take a deposit before we get going. But, because if we're talking, and we know that the money's on the way and we have a really good relationship, we have no problem starting. Yeah. You know what I mean? We can trust you. That's money in the bank as far as I'm concerned, right? So we're happy that we take your word on it, and our customers' word, obviously, they're involved as well, but we'll just go ahead, right? Yeah. And we know that when it comes time to get the draw, we hit the mark, we're going to get the money, right? And we're invested in, we take a lot of risk in doing that, but I sleep well at night knowing that, it's coming.
Well, we walked away from our house and said, here, take it. Yeah. So we have a lot of trust there too. And when we're doing that, we feel like the people that you're representing for us, our clients and all that, we know the job's going to be done. Totally. And we know that they are going to understand. Part of our businesses, even though they're different, they're similar in the sense that you're dealing with, you could be dealing with somebody who's a firefighter or somebody who's a policeman or something like that. Well, no more am I going to get into a police car or fire truck than they're going to come and try to do a mortgage, or they're going to try to come and build a place. And some of them are talented at those things.
Firefighters probably build their own house.
There are some that, I will say, you have some customers that do that for sure. So, but again, it's, they might not, like, they don't know what we do, so they really depend on us to be able to explain the process, explain the steps. And I find the more people know, the easier, the stress level comes down. When you can explain something to somebody in a way that makes sense to them, their stress level just comes down. Well, and they don't need to know, like, they're not going to be building a house, they're not going to be doing a mortgage, but if they understand the principles of what you're doing and why you're doing it, all of a sudden it makes sense to them to go, you know what, I understand why I've got to spend the money to do what I want to do.
Also, and like there's crucial steps in the financing and building. Like they're very intermingled. Oh yeah. And it's like, if you don't have a good communication point with the financier and the builder, like you're not going to have any kind of good luck getting paid, or having like your customer is going to be stressed out. Like, we don't know when we're going to get our draw. Like, everyone's going to be sweating. But if everyone kind of is in the same loop, no problems.
Yeah. Right? So that actually is going to be another question I was going to ask is, how often do you run into it where you're not in, like, you know us, you know what we do and how we do it, just same as we know you, but there are some times in your business where somebody comes in and they're like, hey, you know what, Craig, we got a bunch of money in the bank, I think we're good, we're dealing with our guy over here, he said we're good for it, this is awesome, here's a deposit, get started. And of course, when even a deposit, it only takes you so far, you're already into it. You know, you've got your materials, you've got your things that you've already done, you got a great big shop here and everything else, which is amazing. Yeah. So you can do a lot of the work here. So you've done it. And then how has it happened before where somebody's been like, oh crap, you know what, you're halfway through the project, wherever you might be, we don't actually have the money to finish it or do or even to bring it to this point. What have you run into?
There's been some experiences where, you know, money wasn't guaranteed, or they're waiting on stuff, or, you know, has to wait to clear, or, you know, paperwork, or, you know, taxes. So yeah, we do a lot of stuff on Handshake, and that includes $1 million builds, right? So you know, we do have a contract now, but you know, it's, you know, it can be stressful, right?
Have you run into that? Like, is that something
I've always, like, there's been times where it's like, okay, I have to wait. You know, or like the financing hasn't come through yet, or where there's been, a delay, or there's paperwork problems, or there's, inspection stuff happening, or finals, or whatever. Like, that's definitely happened. But I've been very fortunate, I work for good, I've worked for, so far I've never been stiffed.
Yeah, that's
awesome. It's been good. People have been very honest with me, and we've had to wait. We've had to bend the rule, or bend our payment terms, or bend. You know what I mean? We've helped some people out with whatever we could do with the bill, and But most of the time, like, the people we work for are good people. Like, and generally people are good people, and we haven't really had any times where it's, hey, I've never been really caught holding the bag.
That's awesome.
Right? So,
yeah. I know. Well, I was gonna say, and in your business too. Like, we've done a number of mortgages for different contractors or different people in your business where that can be a pretty common complaint. So the fact that you've gotten yourself in a position, or you're dealing with the people that you feel, or the people you've come across at this point, and you've been doing it for quite a while.
Yeah.
How long have you actually been doing this for?
Well, I started in carpentry when I was 18.
And then how long have you had the business?
So I started MacQueen Systems in 2013, 14.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
But
so it's pretty cool to say you've got that kind of a track record with people.
Yeah, and I've done some other stuff along the way, but we've been really going hard and growing fast in the last 2-3 years, right?
Yeah.
Where we've went from one guy to 25, right, or 30. So my trucks have my last name on them. And I've lived in Sardis since grade 2, right? So I still live in Sardis, and my trucks still have my last name on it. So, and we work next door, a block from my house. We're working in the neighborhood. So yeah, we've been lucky. No one's been too upset yet. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's try this. We got another one here.
Here we are.
So we've got, and this one.
This looks pretty darn tasty.
Yeah, this is
it's like a dessert one. That matcha is good.
Yeah.
So
this is carrot cake.
Oh. Carrot cake. Good. Interesting.
Yeah, that is.
Very carrot cakey.
That is carrot cake.
Not my absolute favorite. I would say this one, the lavender.
If you like carrot cake,
you
will like that one. It's not my favorite. I would definitely after the matcha.
My wife would like that carrot cake one. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's
just,
delicious.
If you're into carrot cake, that's a good one. But yeah, I like the matcha better.
Yeah. What kind of challenges do you find with working with a builder and working with a builder's mortgage and kind of getting all those things lined up, and how do you what's your strategy to streamline that, and kind of what's your process, and because a lot of people don't know about builder's mortgages or about taking a loan out to do a renovation, and what kind of documents do you need to get started in that process?
Builder's mortgages can be quite a thing. So they are not for the faint of heart. I always tell people you're going to have a fairly substantial down payment. With a builder's mortgage, they're going to give you the money in draws, right? So you've got to get yourself, they're going to look at the place, they're going to do an appraisal, they're going to look at the drawings, they're going to look at the costs, they want drawings, costs, everything up front.
Like a full pre-construction package.
Full pre-construction package.
Yeah.
This is what it's going to look like, these are the fixtures, these are the costs, these are everything, right? Then what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, we're going to do that. Well, they'll give it to an appraiser. The appraiser will figure out where the property is and everything else. And they'll say, complete, this place is worth about X amount of dollars. Mm-hmm. So then they'll say, okay, cool. We'll finance, generally speaking, they'll finance 75 to 80% at best, right? Give or take, right around there. So depending on the lender. Of the finished product, they'll say, that's what it'll be worth. We'll finance 75 to 80% of what it's worth when it's finished.
Yeah.
But then they're like, okay, so that's cool. So now you guys have got to get yourself up to the. Then some lenders will have 4 stages. Some will have 5. Like they all have their different stages. So what'll happen is they'll go, okay, well you got to get your foundation done. Like the first stage, you've got to get past the first stage before you get a draw. So you have to have the money to start the work on it, get it all done, pay the builder, the contractor, and everything. You got to pay them, get the foundation done and everything. Then what they'll do is they'll send generally an inspector to come take a look at it. Go, okay, there's your foundation. We're good for the next draw. So they'll give you the money for that part.
Yeah.
And then you got to get to the next part. You know what I mean?
Totally,
So, and
yeah.
that money will generally, you've already spent the money on the first part, that money will take you to the next part. Depends what you've got worked out with your contractor too.
So like I've been in that situation, and we've been hey, we do a deal. It's like, hey, Craig, we have this much. We need to start our new build. We're not going to get our first draw till our foundation's poured and it's inspected. So lots of times we just we do the handshake, or that's our contract, I guess, right? And we get it done, and we put the foundation in, and then when the inspector comes through, they just send us the money, or they pay the invoice or whatever it is.
So it's cool that you do it that way, because there's some people that are like, no, we've got to, you're gonna have to front that money up front.
Yeah.
Take care of that.
Totally.
The contractor has to be paid to do the work, and then so there's different ways, I guess. So it's cool that you guys actually recognize that that's
it's
part of the deal.
It's like, for us, it's it's the service to our customers, and we're able to obtain more work because of that too, right? So we're able, and it's not for everyone. Like, it's what I mean. Like, these are preferred customers, right?
It is not the vein of heart to even build a place. People come in. I bet you we get that question probably once, maybe twice a month, where somebody goes, Don, I found this piece of property and I just love it, and we want to build a house, and this is what we're going to do, and blah, blah, blah. I'll go through the process with them. Like, guys, you got to know, like, this is what you're doing. This is how you're doing it. You're going to have enough money to, generally speaking, too, you can buy the if you can buy the property outright, you can refinance a bit of the property to get you started. There's different things to do, but
you gotta have 50% down. You gotta
there's in a lot of cases you can actually, a service lot, you can do 75% loan to value, so 25% down.
Yeah.
Anyways, so by the time I get finished explaining everything and what's involved, I'm like, guys, you're and a lot of times you can just look into their eyes and you see that this is not.
Yeah.
They're like, this is not sounding fun, and I will be honest with people. This is not an easy project.
Yeah.
It's a tough project. There's a lot of people I've talked to that by the time they've gotten to the end, they're like, we weren't sure our marriage would get to the end.
Well, it's stressful. Yeah, I don't know how many houses we've renovated or been a part of, and like, it's a couple thing, and there's families involved, and it's like stressful, right? And you're in people's homes, and you see it's pretty raw. You know, it is. It gets pretty, definitely interesting at some points. Like, it's high emotions, and most of the time, we deal with these hundreds of thousands of dollars bills all the time, right? We deal with it all the time, and we got bills going in, we got bills going out. But for someone who usually isn't in that world,
and they're just deciding
to sign $100,000 check over is pretty hard.
Yeah,
right? Or just like, that's just a matter of fact. Like, doesn't matter what it is, right? It's it's stressful. They're not sure how to act. It's not something that they're super comfortable with, right? Like, do they have these doubts? Like, they're not familiar with the territory, all this type of stuff, right? So
I get a lot of clients too where when we go through so I get a question probably once a month. Maybe do a builder loan a year. Maybe if not, I mean, probably one every couple of years.
Yeah.
It's not a common thing for us. It might be more common for other people or other brokers. Mm-hmm. It's just not a common thing for us. A lot of times when I see the fear in their eyes, or when they're just like, that does not sound like something we want to do, I will suggest, why don't you guys look at buying a house and renovating a house that you buy to suit. You know what I mean?
Right. Or you can find a builder that has that will build to your specifications. Right? So you can kind of get what you want and be a part of the build, and it's less invasive and risky.
So, interesting point. You can have, a lot of people don't know this, but you can have, if you've got a developer, for instance, mm-hmm. right? So a developer might buy up a bunch of lots and they might be building. Well, that's a different situation. And you might decide, hey, we want to buy one of your lots and we want the builder to build it. Well, if the developer has the pockets to do it, you can have a minimum down payment and have your house built as long as the developer's able to build it for you, and then you just take on the mortgage after completion. Totally. So there are ways to build a place that are a lot less stressful. Yeah. And that's one of the options. And then the other thing is I'll have people come to me, and again, they'll say, hey, we're gonna buy a place, we can put $400,000 down, and we're gonna look at a $1 million property. We found a place for $800,000. Can we do something so that we can do a big reno on it because we know that there's good bones there. We love the place. We love the location.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
Totally.
And it's the easiest thing in the world because I'm just like, well, then you just put 20% down on your $800,000 purchase. You keep the rest in your pocket and you hire a good contractor that can come in and fix the place, as long as that fits within the realms of what you're wanting to do.
Yeah.
So there's some research to do there too, like get your quotes, make sure that that's going to be enough to finish what you want.
Yeah.
But that's a way to do it. There are also purchase plus improvements.
Yeah.
So purchase plus improvements, everybody loves to throw that word out there.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a tough one.
What is that? I've actually never heard that before.
So purchase plus improvements is when a client wants to, say they're buying a place, say they've got the minimum amount down or they've got less than 20% down, and it can actually be done even with 20% down, but that's their down payment. So with that down payment, then they're going, okay, well, I gotta do the kitchen. What you would do is you would buy the place, they would hold back that money. So this is the tricky part too. They'd have to hold back that money. When it's complete, they will either say, give us the receipts to show that it's complete, or they might have an inspector go through, an appraiser, and say that they check all the boxes.
Yeah.
So once they do that, once they check all the boxes and everything, then they'll give the money.
Yeah.
But the problem with that scenario a lot of times is not all contractors want to go in and do a bunch of work and not get a deposit or payment.
Totally.
These people are already stretched, right? They put their money down, they have no money, they don't have the line of credit to get them to that point.
You're pretty much asking the contractor to finance it for you.
Yeah.
Up until you get your draw.
That's right.
Totally.
And a lot of times they're not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So I often say, like if somebody's got 20% down, and they're saying, hey, I want to do a $40,000 or $50,000 reno.
Yeah.
I actually say, let's look at, and again, it's a qualifying thing. How about we look at doing what's called an insured deal? So anytime you have less than 20% down, it's an insured deal.
Yes.
Which is CMHC, Canada Guarantee, or Sagen are the insured guys, right? So when you'll pay a premium. You'll generally get a better rate than what you would get with a conventional mortgage, which is 20% or down.
Yeah.
You can also do a 30-year amortization on a conventional mortgage, so an insured mortgage is only 25. So you have to make sure it all lines up. You have to make sure they're good with the payments and everything else. But now you can keep that cash in your pocket and do whatever you want.
Totally.
As opposed to waiting for the bank's approval to get your money back. And that whole approval process, by the way, that can take a month and a half. Just to get that back. So the contractor's sitting there going, guys, I finished the job. And the lender's just sitting there, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. We got to process it and put it upstairs. I usually try to find a way around.
Like a line or...
Just anything that we can do. Again, a lot of times too, it's put less down and use that money to do your renovations.
Use your liquid.
What is the craziest project you've gone on? Or maybe, let's say this, what's the most difficult client you've ever had where you've come in and you thought, okay, this is just a easy project.
Yeah.
And then by the time you're done, you're going, oh my God. And you obviously, I'm sure, based on your history, you've gotten through it. But what would you say? Obviously, we can't name names or anything. We don't want to put anybody... But
I just think, with construction, renovation, it's high stress, high emotions. Like it's your pit. A lot of people, they're in their home, right? So you're in their home, you're in their personal space. Like there's drywall dust in their cereal. Like they're not getting proper sleep. They're fighting over selections with their spouse. Their kids are rattled. You're waking them up. Like the kid's sick. Like there's still construction workers here. You're trying to go to school. They're wheeling in because guys' work start at 7:30 to 4, right? So, and or 7 to 5 or whatever it is. And so I would just say that's been my biggest challenge. Like it's a high emotional time in the house, and like emotions on high, right?
So how do you navigate that?
Just try to be understanding, try to be service first, try to just be very, very, very delicate with anybody that I can tell is in an elevated emotional state.
Yeah.
You know, kind of this like, okay, handle it with like put the gloves on a little bit and okay, and kind of calm it down and try to empower them with information, right? Empower them with information, you know, kind of see their concerns and then inform them or educate them in a way that lets them kind of sleep at night, right? Or, you know, hey, I got this, or you can reaffirm, you know, the pricing or, you know, this is what happens, this is normal, or, you know what I mean? So I think communication is a big thing for that. Right? It really diffuses a lot of, don't get me wrong, like we do a lot of work. There's been some times where some people are excited, right? And I've had to talk to people like that, but most of the time, if you just kind of come to them with kind of an open mind and don't have an ego.
Communication is huge, and in our business, and we're in a people business.
Totally, yeah.
So we're dealing with consumers.
That's what I tell the boys. I'm like, we are a service-based company. We just happen to do construction. Yeah, you know, that's what happens.
And you have to walk people through. And I find, I mean, the more people, this goes back to the beginning of what we were talking about when we first started talking. If people understand what they're up against, the stress, even if the stress level goes up, as long as you can help them understand what's next or what they're going through, or what, you know, that you're there to help them figure things out. You're answering your phone.
We work for you. That's what I say too. It's like, hey, when they go, hey, sorry, I'm calling you. I'm like, no, we work for you. Call me anytime.
And that's, I think, in both of our businesses, in a lot of businesses out there, that can be lost. There's a lot of people that are like, you know what, I'll get to you when I get to you. Yeah. And I think that's where we stand apart, is if I'm sitting there and somebody texts me and Alicia and I are just watching a show or something, and I'm going to text them back. Yeah. I mean, date night might be different, but at the same time, if I get
Matlock's on, they're not getting
But if there's something that I can do, if I can get back to something, even if it's just to say, I'm looking into this first thing in the morning, I feel like all of a sudden people can just relax, they can take a breath. It's being listened to, it's being heard. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think if you can do that with your clients and help, you're walking the walk with them. Like you're going on the journey. And
it's a journey.
I say that to people all the time. We're in this journey with you. And so it's up to us to walk it with you. We wear the emotions with them. Sure. And I think if you do that, it literally is, even when things get stressful, they feel like, you know what, I'm up here, I need to talk to somebody, they do that, and all of a sudden you can just help them come back down. Yeah, you know it's okay, here we go, this is normal. This is what we gotta do. This is what's next. This is, this is what's coming, this is totally fine, like, this is what's happening, and just telling people, just communicating and being translucent. And communication and process, and I preach that like crazy, I talk about it all the time. Mm-hmm. If you have communication and you have a process that involves your clients, so not just a process of how you do your business, but a process of communication, which I think is huge. Man, I'll tell you, what a difference. And a lot of times, by the time people get to the end of whatever it is you're doing, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's construction, whatever it is, by the time they get to the end of that, they're going, oh, wow, we went through some highs and lows and maybe some valleys, but at the end, wow, it's done? Yeah. Like, this is cool. And that's why I love my job. It's exciting. Like, you can actually bring out the joy. Up. You did something. Yeah, you get that big dopamine dump. You're like, okay, we did it. And everyone's jacked. Mom is jacked, dad is jacked, the kids are jacked, everyone's jumping on their new bunk beds or whatever they're doing, it's why I love what I do, and I'm sure it's why you love what you do, is to get, you ride this emotional roller coaster with your clients, for sure, and then you get to the end of it, and you get, it might have been tough, you might have had to figure some things out. It's a battle, right? But you get to the end of it, and you see the excitement. I had a client call me just yesterday, actually, and he was just like, wow, that was, I just wanted to say, that was amazing. Thank you so much. We just walked in the doors of our new home. Cool. That was really, but literally, like you said, the dopamine rush or whatever you want to call it, but I live for that. Totally. I love that. Those people excited about dealing with you, excited about the outcome, walking into their new house. And again, you're going to have that. Construction's the same. You're solving problems, you're creating people's dream homes, you're bathrooms, you're doing, hey, it's, you're excited to have a new, we're going to be doing a new addition on a home here in Sardis for one of our longtime clients, and he has a growing family, and he's getting to put an addition on because he's had another
child, right? And so it's like, okay, well, their family's growing and we have a new addition and there's a playroom, and that's part of, you kind of become part of that, right? And that's what's neat about, housing and, getting involved with your customer and, or just over here. Hey, we have a dream home. We have an idea on a napkin, and then all of a sudden, 6 months later, they're living in it.
We literally, actually, we gave you a drawing. I remember when we first came to you.
Yeah, it was a Jolly Miller napkin.
We had a drawing, literally, like here's what I want, and now it's sitting in our backyard.
And really,
better than what I had originally thought.
And really, as I've been getting more and more involved in this business and growing as an entrepreneur, like I've really enjoyed doing the design. Obviously we have interior designers, we have architects, we have all the trades, engineers, whoever we need to get the job done. But bringing a project from a bare piece of land to walking with the customer, coming up with like kind of a vision, bringing that to life with it through an architect, and choosing the finishes with the designer, and really kind of putting your spin on it, or going through the permitting process, getting your development permit, or getting all that stuff figured out. And it's really, at the end of it, you kind of took this bare piece of land, and at the end it's going to have a house, and it's going to have all the systems it needs: electrical, gas, like sewer, roof, heat, walls, whatever. And you get a real chance to be a creator, which is kind of neat too.
I think that's the beauty. I feel like as far as what we do for a living is that we're passionate about it. There's a lot of people, and I've met them. I've met contractors that they look miserable.
Yeah.
They don't sound like they're happy with their life. Everything. And I've met brokers that hate what they brokers that hate what they do. I'm like, how can you hate what you do? Like, I mean, this is you're helping people achieve goals, build dreams. Like it's such an interesting business, and again, that I'm a people person, so I love that the psychology side of it as well. Right?
Yeah.
So
you get jacked up.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I can honestly say I'm passionate about what I do, and I know you're passionate about what you do.
For sure.
But there's a lot of people that do what we do, and you talk to them, and you're like, wow, how do you actually do this for a living? So that's why I wanted to have you on the show too, because I know we share passion with our businesses, with our clients.
Totally.
That's
we do that weekly or monthly meeting where we
yes.
kind of hook up and chat, like dream and what are you doing and what's your vision, and we kind of let each other ramble on and have that outlet, sort of like sounding board,
which I love,
right? And it's cool. It's like, okay, well, that got a little bit of traction.
Or trying, just that thing too. Sometimes we'll talk about, hey, I'm trying this, and I'll let you know how it turns out, and it might be something you can add to your business, and vice versa.
Yeah. Well, it's been really good. Like we're already doing, like I said, you're financing projects that I'm working on, and I'm bringing, customers. If I have any customers that are looking for that, like they work with you and we work together, and vice versa, right? So really, it's a great relationship to and kind of there's just the beginning, really. Like who knows, right?
Oh, huge.
Like we were talking about. The garden suites and ancillary living and all that stuff that's really opened up in the Service and Chilliwack area. Like there's all these new density laws coming out, and there's a great opportunity to infill some of these lots and bring a lot of value. Like people are stretched thin right now. There's interest rates are not super high, but they're at an all-time low, right? So that was okay. Now they've kind of leveled to normal, and then the economy's kind of, people are a little bit like, oh, what's going on with this, what's going on with that.
There's a lot of uncertainty.
Anti-COVID uncertainty, right? But it's...
there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, and, a lot of people are not sure how to proceed or how to take it. Because, again, if you're watching the news is sensationalized. I always tell people, I don't watch the news, I listen to economists. But even on the economist side, listening to them lately, there's so many different messages. Like one saying one thing, another one saying another. Totally. Everybody is out there just trying to figure it out. The one thing I will say, and I thoroughly believe this, is people are a little bit mixed up because they're waiting for the Canada bank rate to drop. But the thing is if you're going for a variable rate, then okay, fine. But most people get into fixed rates.
Yeah.
And so the fixed rates are actually at a level right now where they were last spring.
Right.
So fixed rates are actually pretty good right now. And they're not the lows that we saw, but they're also saying that the fixed rate side of things, they might not be coming down to, they're not going to come down as low as people think. Like maybe we get into the 4.5 range, maybe we get into the early 4s, give or take, and that's a who knows.
Yeah.
They're saying, but the fixed rates are based on bond rates, not the Canada Bank rate.
Right.
So there's a lot of people sitting there waiting for the.
So they're kind of watching the wrong.
They're watching the wrong meter.
Yeah.
Right. And
they're
so
watching the temperature gauge and they're running out of gas.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people sitting there, and then soon the news isn't talking about bond rates. They're not talking about fixed rates. So as soon as that ball drops, I think, and again, time will tell.
Totally.
But people are all going to be jumping off the fence at the same time. So. I do believe, and I don't think a lot of people realize this, that it is still quite a buyer's market out there. The inventory is low, so that it's a bit of a buyer-seller market in some ways. But if you find a place that you think could do the trick,
you can haggle right now too.
You can, right? It's actually somewhat of a balanced market.
And that's the thing too is, with this densification of, if the Chilliwack area, there's every residential lot you can put a carriage home. Or you can put an ancillary suite or a garden suite.
A lot of people don't know that.
A lot of people don't know. Any residential building lot in all of Chilliwack, you're allowed to put a secondary suite on, whether that's a pedestrian access or you have a carriage house where it's it's on an alleyway or you have a separate driveway or whatever. But every single house that's a single family lot that's not strata you're able, as long as your house placement on the lot allows for it, you can put one on there. So.
Is there square footage of the lot that comes into play?
Yeah, so there's different steps. Like, there's, your typical lot, and you can have a certain square footage, and you go up to a 1/4 acre lot, you can hit certain, then you go 1/2 acre, you go bigger. So it does go up, and your ancillary suite does go up. I don't have those numbers right in front of me right now, but they are reciprocal to the lot size for sure. Yeah.
And those are financeable projects too.
Yeah, and I've seen.
We looked into that before.
Yeah, we're looking into it. And I still, I'm building one right now, and it's mom and dad sold their house, and or mom and dad and the kid sold their house, and now they're gonna buy a bigger house with a bit of property, and the child or the adult child with the family is going to live in the house, and mom and dad are going to build a carriage home in the backyard.
That's getting pretty
or an ancillary suite. So you have that separation, but then you also have access. You're able to vertically integrate your housing a little bit with your family, and you can share some of the costs, right?
You're pooling your resources to get to actually live in a house where the other situation might be you're living in strata units, which isn't the end of the world by any means. Those are nice too, but. There, if you have the advantage of being able to work together with a family member, you can live with, and you can make some arrangements.
Well, all of a sudden you have $300,000 or $400,000, and you want to build. That's the same price as an apartment. Yeah. And you can have a house in a residential lot in the backyard with your family, or you build it and you rent it out, right? So that's slowly. There's lots of opportunities out there. So you could have live in your house up front and rent out your ancillary suite in the back and have a nice income helper too, right?
Yeah, totally.
And the way things work out, it pretty much pays for itself as long as you have a little bit of a down payment to get going. The mortgage and the cost of the build costs are almost, you know what I mean? Right there. So.
Absolutely, yeah.
For sure. So, yeah.
The value of the property, the way based too on the increase of the value of the property.
Well, you're gonna win there long term with if you go to sell it, you're gonna definitely get some cash out. But just say if you're to finance. That portion, say if you're to finance a garden suite, it's whatever 1,300 square feet, or it's 700 square feet, or 600 square feet, whatever your lot size allows for. Very often, you will come out to a balance, or even a little bit ahead with your mortgage payment to rental costs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all of a sudden, you're really developing your property and increasing your ability to earn, while not increasing your overhead or your cost. Day-to-day cost, right? You give up a portion of your backyard or whatever, right?
Well, you know what, Craig? This has been amazing. It's been cool. I'm going to say something that my nephew told me I had to say. Please like and subscribe. So my 5-year-old nephew watched my last video, Rylan watching my last video, and he goes, Uncle Don, you've got to say like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. So there you go, Ryan. I said it. So, anyway, bud, that was awesome.
It's great.
So we'll cheers. I think this is my favorite.
Yeah, I'm definitely like, this is done. So
cheers. All right. Thank you, Land. That was awesome. And thanks for watching.